All right, joining us today on the Spurs Up Show is a man that played for Gamecocks baseball in 2011. For the Gamecocks, he went 1-0 with a 5.4 ERA, had 22 appearances, 1 start, 1 save, 18 1/3 innings pitched, and 18 strikeouts. Of course, also a member of the 2011 National Championship Gamecocks team. He was drafted in the 30th round of the 2011 MLB draft by the Washington Nationals and had an extensive minor league career from 2011 to 2018. Also played independent ball in 2019. Very pleased to be joined by former Gamecocks left-handed pitcher Bryan Harper. Bryan, appreciate you taking the time, man. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So the one thing, Bryan, I want to go ahead and get it out there because the one thing I did not say that I'm sure many people, and I didn't say it specifically because I'm sure it annoys you, right? I didn't mention it in the intro, but you are Bryce Harper's brother. I'm sure many people have addressed you before and said Bryce Harper's brother and said, no, I'm Bryan Harper. But I'm just curious, just off the jump, to get your take. I mean, what's that like? Obviously, a great thing for you and your family to have a brother. Obviously, I think everybody tuned into this show is going to know who Bryce Harper is, playing with the Phillies, you know, a phenom at the age of 16 on Sports Illustrated, all that stuff. But I mean, just again, I didn't want to put that in the intro because I'm sure you get that all the time. But I'm just curious to hear your perspective on what that journey has been like for you and your family and to watch your brother's career unfold the way it has.
Yeah, so it's awesome. I mean, I've never been the jealous type with him. He's always been my biggest fan, as I am his biggest fan. Yeah, it's always funny. I think the best part and like funniest part that I have is when people meet me and then I never introduce myself as Bryan Harper, right? It's always, hey, I'm Bryan. Hey, how's it going? You know? Right. And then they come to find out that the last name's Harper. And then they, you know, the shocked look, the glassed over eyes. It's like, wait, like Harper? I was like, yeah, he's my little brother. Oh my God. You know, and then they start freaking out. So it's good, man. I've never been, like I said, the jealous type, and you know, all of his success is great and really exciting. So
yeah, I was gonna say I'm somebody that's actually got 3 brothers, so and they're all my younger brothers. But I have to imagine for you, because you guys played together in college. Was that at College of Southern
CSN.
Nevada?
Yep.
Yeah, it was. Okay. Yeah. I'm just curious again to be there along with him for the ride. Like I said, you I'm sure you're someone like you share in those successes he had, and obviously you had your college career going, which again, like I said, didn't have a bad career yourself, winning a national title, but to be able to watch him and be a part of that and kind of assist him along in that journey, I'm sure that had to be really cool for you. And the opportunity for you guys to be teammates at the college level, I'm sure was something that you probably still value to this day.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we played together in high school also. He was a freshman, I was a senior. And we were battery mates. You know, he was a catcher back then. So that, I think, is the coolest thing that I've ever experienced on a ball field. And I got to that point with other catchers, but him knowing me without even having to throw down a sign, and him just knowing what I want to do on the mound, I think that is the coolest thing that I've ever experienced with a teammate. And, you know, it's that brother ESP, you know, type knowing what we want to do. So, being along for that ride with that team and just it being a Vegas group of guys, you know, we had guys from Utah, we had guys from Arizona. But it really was just a Vegas team, and you know, being able to go to the JUCO World Series with him, and you know, we took third there, and then end up, you know, obviously getting the ring at South Carolina. So that's one thing I can't hang over Bryce's head, is he doesn't have any hardware from college. So besides the Golden Spikes, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but you know, that's nobody cares about those individual awards, man. It's all about the team, right?
It's the team awards, man. That's what matters today. But yeah, so you were at CSN. Obviously, you get to South Carolina 2011. I'm curious, how did it come about that you end up in Columbia? I mean, again, Ray Tanner, Jerry Myers, you know, Chad Holbrook, that whole crew, they're there, and they find you, and you know, you joined South Carolina in 2011, but what was the recruiting process like for you? I'm sure you were a guy that I'd imagine had a ton of interest from West Coast schools, but how did it come about that, like I said, Ray Tanner and that staff were able to get their eye on you? And then what made you choose South Carolina?
Yeah. So Mark Calvey is actually the one that recruited me.
Okay.
He got me in there and got me signed. Chad Holbrook has a link to Vegas. So he actually recruited a kid named Matt Harrison, who went to North Carolina when Holbrook was there. And I think it just kind of worked out where they were coming out west, and they from the story that I kind of got was they actually came to see Bryce and another guy, and ended up signing me and my buddy Donnie Roach, who was a right-handed pitcher.
Right.
And they offered me a scholarship, and I always grew up wanting that, true college experience, right? And I thought I was going to get that in Northridge, California, when I went to Cal State Northridge, because I was going to be playing in the Big West, which was Irvine, Fullerton, Long Beach State, and those schools, right? So I'm like, okay, like this will give me that opportunity, to play against those guys and make my name on my own, not, part of those teams, right? I wanted to be the thorn in their side type thing. Right. Obviously transferred back, and then, they come out and recruit me and offered me a scholarship. And I think I took about 48 hours and called him back, and I was like, I'm coming. I don't care. So didn't even end up going on a recruiting visit until after I signed, and then just going. But yeah, man, it was a culture shock, because I've never really been down south, and just really even east of the Mississippi, but for a little bit here and there, and just getting there for the first time, going to Florida, South Carolina football game, walking the sidelines with, you got Tebow running around, you got Takeo Spikes running around, you had a bunch of guys on the field, and you're like, holy cow, like this is serious shit right here. Right. And then they have this brand new diamond of a stadium, and I knew it was the right decision. And I think that's why when I got drafted out of CSN, I was like, it literally has to be the world for me to give up South Carolina. Right. And then they end up winning the College World Series, big hit Witt coming through. Right. And then I get to roll into a winning program. I'm coming from a winning program in the junior college level. And then, it's just kind of the rest is history after that. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious to get your take, Brian. Again, baseball on the West Coast is obviously it's a big deal, but in the SEC, it is a whole different level. Like I'm curious, what was that for you like? Because I mean, again, South Carolina had just won the 2010 College World Series, so the excitement was at a fever pitch level. And I mean, either way, Gamecock baseball fans show up and show out no matter what. But I remember specifically that 2011 season and those games. I mean, every night it's 8,000 strong, and like every SEC series. Like, what was that like for you? Did you like look around and you're like, holy crap, these people are kind of crazy. Like, this is wild for college baseball.
It's the SEC, right? Isn't that what we always say?
Right.
That's what everybody hates.
It just means
SEC,
more,
man. It just means more. Yeah. Exactly. No, man, it's honestly something. So I have a buddy that was a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan. Just sports wise, I think his family's from down there, and he ended up growing up and being, Atlanta Braves fan, all that stuff. And he kind of got me into it in high school. He's one of my best friends. His name's Tate Chauncey. And, I knew about SEC sports. I knew about, that fan favor and, all that good stuff that comes along with it, and, there was probably, I think the Vanderbilt series was the holy cow moment, because Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we're playing. I think we were ranked number one, or no, Vanderbilt was number one. We were number two or number three at the time. And every single one of those games were packed. All the bleachers in left field, the entire grandstands, everything. We've got people all lined up on our bullpen, lined up on their bullpen, and we're going at it. Two powerhouses at the time going at it. And I think that's probably, the holy cow moment. Like, this is nuts. So, yeah.
For sure. I'm curious to get your take again on Ray Tanner, obviously legendary head coach, 2 national titles. What he did at South Carolina, even way before you were there, just building, that Carolina baseball program into being one of the top 5, 10, I would say probably top 5 programs in the entire country for about a 20-year span there. I mean, and it's still going now. I mean, I would say South Carolina is looked at still that way, and that tradition, Ray Tanner certainly building that. What were your first interactions like with him? Again, it's really funny for me just hearing from the former players the stories, because Tanner's, we all know, pretty tough to play for, but he gets the best out of his guys. What were those interactions like for you with Coach Tanner?
So he reminds me of an infield coach that we had in my high school. He's very dry, very blunt, very to the point. It's like, you got to do this. You got to do that. It's like, okay, I get it, coach. Like, it's a lot easier said than done with certain things. But no, it was a good experience. Like I said, I kind of dealt with Calvi and Holbrook throughout the recruiting process, and then getting there, I was trying to get to know Jerry Myers and kind of make my way, because I felt like he didn't really know what I had, because it was coming from another pitching coach. So like, I'm trying to just make my way and find my niche, and it's a lot different when you go into a team as an older guy, and you're just trying to do your thing, and maybe sometimes put a little more pressure on yourself than you should. But yeah, I have nothing but great things to say about all the coaches that I had, while I was there, and just amazing teammates for sure.
Yeah, I think the dynamic, Brian's pretty interesting because, again, like you said, you're an older guy, but you're trying to fit in as the new guy. I mean, you're kind of like a freshman all over again. And again, this isn't just a team where, I'm just going to fit into the team and I'll mesh with the lot. It's like, this is a group of national champions. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, we got our stuff together. Like, let's see what this new guy can do. And again, I've talked with guys like Adrian Morales, and I think Adrian said it best when I was, asking him, comparing him between the 10 and 11 teams. And he said, 10 was a team that had never been done before. And, it had a different feeling because 11 was very businesslike. Like, we expected to win every game. Like, we knew how good we were. We knew we were the best team in the country. I'm just curious, like, how was that transition for you? Again, coming in, like you said, being the new guy, and man, is like, as a baseball player and being an athlete, the first things first, you got to command respect in the locker room and earn that trust from your teammates and earn that respect. And certainly you did that. But, what was the transition like for you? And I guess how awesome it was too, though. Like you said, that's an ideal situation, man. I mean, you're not coming into a cellar dweller. I mean, this is a program expecting to go back to Omaha and win the whole damn thing yet again.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think guys like Adrian Morales, guys that I could lean on that were established the year before and knew because Adrian transferred in too, correct?
Yes.
If I'm not okay. Yeah, Florida, that's what I thought. So, he transfers in. So being able to talk to him, but guys like Michael Roth, Adam Matthews, Adam Westmoreland, like the older guys, Tyler Webb, guys that I immediately clicked with, and then my bullpen guys, like, the bullpen's a team in itself.
Oh yeah.
With Sullivan and Jose Mata, Justin Taylor, and it's just list of guys that I could go on and on about, and Wingo kind of steering the whole thing. Him and Roth were the two guys that we leaned on, whether you're a position guy or you're a pitcher. And they made everybody feel like it was a family immediately, and I think that's why I sometimes put a little bit more pressure on myself, like I said earlier, was because I wanted to prove that I could be part of you guys, and do that stuff. So yeah.
What were some of the wackiest bullpen antics you remember? Because there's a lot of clowns in that bullpen. I remember vividly. I think this was 2011. Maybe it was 12, but I swear I think it was 11. I went to the South Carolina Clemson game at Clemson, and obviously between innings, like maybe the third or the sixth, you'll have a bunch of guys run down to the foul pole and back to stay loose or whatever. And I remember it was Roth leading the charge, and it was like a V formation, like just doing the just dumbest stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and I remember specifically, like I said, those bullpens, like there were some characters. Like, is there any specific antics you can recall? Because you guys, the great thing about those teams, again, led by a guy like Roth, is how loose everybody was. Like, it was a bunch of just jokesters. Like, it's what it felt like a lot of times. Is there anything stands out to you from or memories from the bullpen, if you will?
I think it's it's you look back on it now, it's just like, it's cringeworthy now, especially playing pro ball. It's just right. That's so dumb. But geez, no, it was the 2-2-2s, right? The 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Deuce is wild.
Outs, right? Yeah. There you go. Deuce is wild. So it was our can dance that we did out there. And we all stood up, linked shoulders, and we did our, can dance. And I think it ended up working out that day. And I think we had to do it the rest of the weekend because of that. So, there, some of the things we did, it's just like, it's very cringeworthy now, but you look at it at the time, it was just like, us hanging out and having fun, because baseball's so serious and such a failure sport anyways, that if you're sitting down there, especially in the bullpen with guys like Roth on the mound, where you're like, okay, well, we know we're not going to pitch today, so let's do something that kind of keeps us entertained because we can't really see the game from here. We're looking through a chain link fence. We know that Matt's going to probably go in and close this game anyway, so because Ross is probably going to go 8. Okay, yeah, let's just do something. Let's find something. Playing bocce ball before the first pitch. Yeah, it's you learn even more in pro ball about the bullpen life in general, and it's like I said, it's a family and it's a team within the team. So
I was going to say that's what makes college baseball great, though. Those little nuances. If you, I just mentioned the Clemson series, and I was looking back on that 2011 season, Brian. Obviously, you got your feet wet in that series. Came in, I think, probably like a specialist role. Struck out a batter in that 6-3 to win. Also came another field. Yeah, at Floor. Yeah, I remember that vividly, actually. I want to get your take again on that rivalry because as a California guy, I'm sure you weren't very familiar with it coming in, but, best rivalry in college baseball, in my opinion. I think, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find many more rivalries with the intensity as that one, especially like you said. I mean, you pitched at the Greenville game, and did you pitch at their place or Columbia? I forget. What was the other?
I pitched at their place also.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know just how intense that is. Just talk about that rivalry, and again, you won the series against them. I know that had to feel good.
Oh yeah. I will put that baseball series. Obviously, when you talk football, it's a little bit different. We were dominant when I was there, which was nice against Clemson. Was it 5 in a row? So, that baseball rivalry is unlike anything else, in my opinion, because after every game, you were drained. Like, it didn't matter if you got in the game or not. Like, it was. You could feel the tension. You could feel the intensity the entire time. It's actually crazy because actually one of my best friends is Spencer Keyboom. We played together and became battery mates in pro ball. He was with the Nationals for his entire career also. It's always fun having that little banter with me and him no matter what. He's like a brother now, which is crazy to say that I got a Clemson Tiger as a brother. But it's second to none. It really is.
And 11 was the year that Leggett questioned the heating of the bats, correct? Was that year? Yes. I remember Ray Tanner was less than pleased.
Spencer Keyboom was catching and he picked up the bat after Jackie hit. It was like, burned his hand. That's what he said. He's like, it's hot. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's hot.
I'm curious. Can you say on air what Tanner did? I don't think Tanner took kindly to that. I remember specifically after the Greenville game when he was asked about it, he kind of went off a little bit on that.
Yeah, we had heaters in the dugout, and the heater was next to the bat rack. So I don't know, if Jackie just kind of held his bat just in like his handle area, and maybe it just kind of resonated up the handle. But I mean, it was cold. It was cold that series. I remember. We're all bundled up, and anytime we can get those heaters, and you know how hitters are, they're just trying to keep their hands warm because if you can't feel the bat, you're not going to hit anything. I don't, like I said, I think it's just that rivalry, and we saw it same with Florida, and we saw it same with Vanderbilt. It's just, those good teams that it just means more in those winning programs. It really does. It doesn't matter if the ACC or SEC, Big 10, Big 12, whatever it is. It's kind of weird that's something that they kind of went to, in my opinion, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I think Jack Leggett was just whining, personally. I mean, me, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, you still got to get the guy out, whatever. Right. Hey, Brian, I'm curious to get your take again. You go throughout that season. For you, I'll ask you, adjusting to SEC baseball. You'd obviously played at a high level, especially again, the baseball is really good on the West Coast, but making that adjustment to the SEC level, what was that like for you again? You talk about the Vanderbilts, the Floridas. I mean, the teams you face, you don't have an off weekend in the SEC. Anybody can beat you. There's quality players. There's draft guys all over the place. What was that like for you again? I'm sure it was exciting as far as, challenging yourself to bring your game to the highest level.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the biggest difference is the lack of small ball. I have always hated the small ball West Coast stuff that, Augie Garrido introduced it at Texas, and then it just has trickled with anybody that's coached underneath them, and you see it at the Fullertons and the Irvines and Long Beach States because of that. But seeing the big boppers in the lineup actually getting able to swing the bat, and you're obviously your top guys, if you're 1-2s and your 8s and 9s are going to be, laying down bunts, then that's their way of offense of getting on base. They're not producing just one run. All right. They want to pack those bags up for the 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 7 hitter, and that was I think a big adjustment was not being able to take pitches off and be able to, pitch around guys to be able to get to some of the weaker bats, because they are fairly loaded lineups, right? Whether your 3, 4 hitters are the guys that getting drafted this year at the juniors and seniors in those spots, or your top prospect, freshmen and sophomores that'll be getting drafted in the coming years. And I think that's what prepared me for pro ball, because you knew that you couldn't pitch around guys in even pro ball, lower levels all the way up. So yeah, I think that was one big thing that you had to bring it every day, just like you said.
Yeah. I want to jump ahead again to Omaha, Brian. It's crazy, that 2011 season. And it's funny, as a fan, I think fans sat back and, I don't want to say take it for granted, but everybody expected you guys to win it all. It's just like, oh, ho hum, we're going to go win another national title. No big deal. But like when you go back and you look at those games, like how crazy those games, even leading up to that Florida series where, you spot A&M 4 runs in the first inning. You're like, oh, crap, this is not good. End up beating them 5-4 anyways. That Virginia game was nuts. Yeah. And then you go into the Florida series, and I'll ask you, have you ever been a part of a crazier baseball game or seen a crazier baseball game than that game 1 against Florida?
No, because Peter Mooney took somebody deep. Nobody expected that.
Good point. Good point.
It's crazy, man. And then what did Matt throw? Matt threw 3 or 4 innings.
Yeah, that was the Scott Wingo game with the craziness and
with the crazy play, and you have the
Jake Williams with the throw from left.
Jake Williams with the throw from left. It's crazy, but that's the type of team that we were. We just believed that we were going to win. There was going to be something that changed the tides. It was absolutely crazy. So the funniest story I have from Omaha though is we get there for opening ceremonies. My dad is actually walking. They parked away from the field. They had to walk over to TD Ameritrade, and he got shit on by a bird.
Really?
Bird, a pigeon or whatever it was, pooped on his shoulder, and he walks in, and I'm like, what's wrong with your shoulder? He's like trying to wipe it off. He ended up going to the bathroom, wiping it off. He's like, I just got shit on by a bird. I said, are you kidding me? I was like, oh, we're winning this thing for sure. I was like, that's good luck. You get pooped on by a bird. That's good luck right there. We walk in, ended up dominating the series, and it was crazy, man. What they won 18, 19 straight postseason games, something like that. At the college, they won
22 straight postseason wins.
22 postseason wins, and then I think it was 12 straight in Omaha. I think that's still a record till this day, and it's crazy, man. It honestly is.
Who knew the good omen was your pops getting shit on by a bird? This is stuff you can't hear anywhere else other than this.
Exactly.
That's wild. Yeah, I'll ask you again, Brian. Jackie catches that last fly ball, and that's another great story too. When he throws the ball in the stands, and everybody's thinking, "What are you doing?"
What are you doing?
Jackie actually commented on our Instagram about that situation, that story, and he actually ended up signing the ball and giving it to the kid. And it's a great story, really cool. But your thoughts, your emotions. He catches that fly ball again. You win a national championship, and again, I don't think fans, like I said, took it for granted. But I know I was sitting there like, oh yeah, they're going to win it. Definitely. Nobody's beating South Carolina. I think the same thing the team felt. I think the fan base and probably just people around college baseball felt that this team's not being beat. Whether it's they're just that good, or some people saying it's luck, which I don't agree with. But whatever, a combination of things. You guys were not being beat, undeniable. Whatever, win the national title. Your emotions, again, I'm sure that has to still stick out to you as a high in your baseball career.
Oh yeah, definitely. I grew up wanting that college experience, right? And winning a national championship. What was it, 2005, 2007, somewhere in there, the Miracle on Ice came out, right? The story about the 1980 Winter Olympics, USA beats them, right? And I remember vividly, and it always is stuck in my head because I was, starting out high school, going into college, getting ready to go to college or whatever. And I think it's Jack Callahan. It's O'Callahan. His last name's O'Callahan. But it was him and Eruzione, and they were all, sitting around the table. And he's like, I went to college to win a national championship. That's what he wanted in his college career. That's all he cared about. And it always stuck with me. And that's something that I always dreamed about. I was like, man, it'd be so sick to win a college World Series. You know, going up there, going to baseball tournaments in Omaha when I was younger in middle school and high school, you know, and it was honestly a blackout moment after Jackie caught that ball, you know, sprinting to the pile. I think the best thing was the bullpen was there last, so I actually got on top of it, and I got some good pictures. I actually have the front page of me jumping on, and Scott's laying there waiting for me. Yeah, it's just it's a blackout moment, and then you grab that trophy and you give it that good kiss, and it's like, holy cow, like this is what I've always wanted, and this is awesome. So yeah.
Well, during all this, by the way, like I said in the intro, you were selected in the 30th round of the 2011 MLB draft by the Washington Nationals. I'm curious, when did that happen? Was it like super regional round? Were you in Omaha? Because I think I'm sure maybe you'd agree. I don't know, but I always thought it was just so stupid how like you got the draft going on. Guys, they're getting the biggest phone calls their entire life, and it's like they're at practice or they're playing in the middle of a game. Like guys, like, hey, by the way, like where were you at? What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, so it was Super Regionals week, I believe, because the draft was on Tuesday. Yeah, first day of drafts on Tuesday. I don't think I got selected till Thursday, but I was actually at the mall with Roth and Ryan Fisher, who was one of our equipment guys. And we were just hanging out, and my dad ended up calling me, and he's like, hey, you just got picked by the Nats. I was like, oh, all right, cool. What round? He's like, the 30th. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, agent's going to be calling you or whatever, advisor as they like to call it. But yeah, agent was going to call me and kind of give me the full details. But yeah, I was actually at the mall with, we were looking around. I don't even know if we got anything that day. We were just bored. I think we just got off field and yeah. So right before Supers though, I believe it was.
For sure. Well, you begin obviously your minor league career 2011. I'm just curious again. You played a long time, 11 to 18 in the minors. And first things first, though, your brother was obviously a member of the Nats at the time. I mean, what was? I guess how cool was that to be selected the same organization that your brother was playing for?
Yeah, I mean, it was that dream of playing at every level, right? I mean, we got high school, we hit college, and obviously hoping to play in the big leagues one day. So yeah, that was a huge thing for me. But him just kind of giving me the rundown of who's who, who to talk to about things and stuff like that, and then just having that that experience of going to spring training with your brother and being able to experience that for 8 years and 7-8 years, something like that. And yeah, it's awesome. I think it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because it's like, you want to prove all of your teammates, all the coaches, the whole organization. It's like, I'm here because of what I've done in my body of work, and I deserve to be here, not I'm here because of my last name. Did you
deal with that a lot? You feel like?
I did. I think I dealt with it. My first year was my toughest year. 2011, or was it 2011? I'm sorry. I'm like, there's so many years running back and forth. 2012, my first spring training, ended up going to extended spring training, and just struggling, man, because I'm like, I got to prove myself. I got to do this. I got to do this. And the game, like I said, the game's already hard enough, and the game's already so much failure anyways, that if you add that to it, you're going to fail. I mean, I had like an 11 ERA my first half season up in Auburn, New York, man. It was tough. I think I only had like 11 innings pitched, and I finally had that like look in the mirror realization that off season. Was like, dude, stop. Like, go out, do your thing. And I like locked in, worked my ass off in the off season, did everything that I needed to do to get right. And then, stats showed for it, man. Every year I got better. Every year I climbed a level, and then you kind of get stagnant at the AA and AAA level. Obviously, you're hoping to break in at those spots. But yeah, man, I prided myself on getting better every year. And I think I accomplished that for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, man, the game is hard enough without adding external pressures that don't need to be there. I mean, it's a game of randomness, and like you said, it's tough enough without that. I'm curious though, again, to get just your full takeaways, or just your takeaways from your minor league career. Again, you had an extensive career; not many guys get to do it, and you got to chase the dream and pursue it and everything. What are your biggest takeaways from your time? The life of a professional baseball player. Again, it's a grind. I mean, there's no question. The life at the minor league level is a true grind. It's not, probably what people think of what Bryce Harper's doing, the fancy hotels and the flashy this and that, and the cathedrals of baseball stadiums. And, anybody that's seen, I don't know if you've probably seen Bull Durham, though. And I think they depict that so beautifully. Like, you hit white balls in batting practice. They're, oh my God. Like, it's just stuff like that. You know what I mean? But like, overall, your takeaways when you look back on your professional baseball career.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing about my baseball career, man. Like, it dealt with struggle at the beginning. It got better, and it looked like it was about to crest and get that call that every ball player wants. And then I blow out, elbow goes on me, have to come back from that rehab, come back, do my thing, and end up playing a couple more years out of that. But the biggest takeaway for me is my three other best friends, that I got from that. Spencer Keyboom obviously played at Clemson and was my catcher for a couple years in the minor leagues. Ended up being, my kind of anchor my last couple years, because we were both in Harrisburg, and then he played in Harrisburg and I was over in Lancaster playing independent ball. We're living in Mechanicsburg at a host family, but he was that dude that I could lean on and talk to anything about, because it's just that catcher, pitcher mentality where you can talk to your catchers about things. And then, Mike McQuillan and Tony Renda, two of my other amazing, best friends that I have, from playing days. And, like I said, they're family. And that's honestly my biggest takeaway from my minor league career, regardless of my successes on field, regardless of, the team successes and things like that, me not making it and all this other, things that you think about on field stuff, man. It's that off field stuff and those relationships that you make with, lifelong guys that'll be, around forever.
For sure. Brian, you've been gracious with your time. I really do appreciate it. Switching gears a little bit, best pitch in baseball is what?
First pitch strike.
See, I had Tyler Johnson on, who pitched at South Gunna, and he got all in depth with me, 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm like, we don't all throw 100, Tyler. I strike. That's the answer I'm looking for. I'm curious, again, before I get you out of here, because I normally ask guys their favorite memory, but I feel like for you it's going to be a no-brainer with that 2011 national title. But I'm curious to hear this, Brian. How do you deal with – I guess you probably don't see it a ton, but people on social media are stupid. And I'm a Braves guy. Like, I'm not one of these people, though. I have a ton of favorite players on a ton of different teams, but like people love to, and if they say if you're getting booed, that's Derek Jeter got booed every place because he's the best player in MLB. But, I'm sure you guys have dealt with that with Bryce. Like people love to hate Bryce Harper. A lot of my buddies are Braves fans, and like, it's so funny though, because like I'll see my buddies putting up like Facebook statuses or whatever, and they're talking about, oh yeah, Bryce Harper sucks. I'm like, no, he doesn't, bro. I mean, I'm pulling for the Braves. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's just funny, like, and chirping. I was at the Carolina baseball game today, and we were sitting by the left fielder, and I mean, even the Dayton left fielder, he's getting an earful. Like, chirping's part of the game, but like, do you just sit back and laugh when, like, I'm sure you've gone to games and like fans are just trying to chirp away? And I think back to a couple of different memories with your brother, like. I don't know who it was, but he hits a freaking 7,000-foot home run and does his thing with the bat flip. Whatever. Like, I'm just sure that has to be like a lot of fun for you to like just sit back and kind of laugh at.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it gets me heated a little bit.
Yeah, it gets annoying. I have to imagine it gets annoying for sure.
Exactly,
yeah.
It's more of annoyance than like whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's Bryce is the ultimate antagonist.
Yeah,
as I like to call him.
He loves to play it up. He loves to play it up.
Sometimes he does like to play it up. Sometimes he doesn't.
That's the fun of the game. I think that's the fun.
Exactly. And there's guys like Trout that are really good and still get booed, but they're just quiet about it, right? Like that's the type of player that Trout is and the type of player that Bryce is. It's the whole A-Rod, Derek Jeter. It's like it's two really, really good players, but just a different, personality and different way to go about the game. So yeah, it can be, it can be tiring sometimes, but it is what it is. And, he plays into it, and sometimes he makes teams pay, and most of the time he does. So I think the greatest video is he's up in San Francisco, and he's got somebody chirping behind the dugout, overrated, does it a couple times, and then he goes and pops one into McCovey Cove, and it's like, okay, well, I got to shut up now because I can't say anything. So, and I think that was like the second or third inning, and guy didn't end up chirping the rest of the game. So, he likes to shut people up, and it's like I said, it can be annoying sometimes, but that's just me being me and the protective older brother. So, yeah.
The best revenge is massive success. I promise,
exactly.
Last thing, Brian, I'll get you out of here. Funniest Tanner moment that you can recall from that 11 season.
Oh, geez.
That you can tell on air, by the way.
I'm like
trouble, but
I'm terrible at this stuff, man. I like all my funny memories are like us things with going over to Michael Ross and Adam Matthews' place, like hanging out with those guys. Like those are funny moments, and like stuff at like Village Idiot, like stuff that we were doing in there. Like it's just like, okay, like we can't go there. I think the coolest moment that I have of Tanner and how much respect I kind of gained from that was when he went after Leggett for questioning our kind of our ethics of stuff, and it's like, you realize that and you're like, holy shit, like, this guy cares, because there's some coaches that wouldn't go to bat for his players, and the fact that he always went to bat for his players and backed us up 100%, regardless of win, lose, or draw, like he had our back. So yeah, that's definitely, I think, my lasting memory of him for sure.
For sure. Well, Brian, like I said, this has been a pleasure, man. And I know I speak for all Gamecock fans when I say it was awesome to watch you and your teammates do what you did. And obviously, your professional baseball career, and we're all pulling for Bryce. We're all pulling for Bryce. So I want to see him do well. Hey, baseball is more fun when guys like Trout, your brother, when those are the young faces of the major leagues, and obviously we all have our fingers crossed for a full normal MLB. I mean, I've 100%. It's so funny, man. I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, I used to, because one of my gripes is the major league season is just so long, and I know being a player, you're sitting there in the bullpen like, oh my God. Like late July, just like, Jesus Christ, this is good.
We're only at game 70.
Right. Yeah, it's a grind for sure. But like after last year, and I will say, I think the 60-game MLB schedule was awesome. I think it was great as far as it felt like every game mattered. But after not having sports, I remember thinking to myself, I will never take for granted a 7 p.m. first pitch on July 15th, Braves-Phillies. I will never complain. At least we have baseball. You know what I mean? So, Hey, Brian, this has been a pleasure, man. It's been a blast. I really appreciate it. And let's definitely do it again soon for sure, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Let's do it.
Absolutely. He's Bryan Harper. I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the episode of the Spurs Up Show.